April 14, 2026. Strait of Hormuz. USS Preble DDG-88. 0217 local time. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Voss is watching 14 contacts on her screen. Moving fast. Low altitude. Staggered formation, spread across 4 kilometers of airspace. Her fire control system has them all. The engagement order comes in at 021743. She has 90 seconds. The HELIOS system has never fired in combat. We'll come back to Lieutenant Commander Voss and what happened in those 90 seconds. But to understand what was at stake over the Hormuz that night, you need to know what the U.S. Navy spent 8 years and $150 million building. The directed energy program that produced HELIOS, the high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system, was not born from optimism. It was born from a specific arithmetic problem that conventional naval defense cannot solve. A standard ANSWY-2 CRAM missile costs roughly $900,000 per round. A phalanx close-in weapon system engagement costs less, but the magazine has limits. Iranian Shahed series drones cost between $20,000 and $50,000 each. In a swarm engagement of 20 targets, a ship defending with conventional interceptors spends between $5 million and $18 million. The attacker spends $400,000. That matters because Iran has been systematically developing drone swarm tactics since 2019. The operational concept is saturation. You don't need to get all 20 drones through. You need to overwhelm the magazine. Force the defender to choose which threats to engage and which to accept. The HELIOS answer to that arithmetic is simple to the point of being brutal. One engagement costs approximately $1. The ship's gas turbines generate the power. The beam runs on electricity. Magazine depth. Unlimited, as long as the reactors run. How that beam actually works explains everything that followed. HELIOS uses a fiber laser architecture. Lockheed Martin's system relies on spectral beam combining. Multiple fiber laser modules each producing a narrow wavelength band, combined optically into a single coherent output beam. The classified output power is officially undisclosed, but program milestone documents submitted to the Navy in 2024 reference engagement envelopes consistent with systems in the 60 to 150 kilowatt range. At that power level, dwell time on a target the size of a Shahed 136, roughly 2 meters wingspan, is measured in seconds. What that means in combat: the system doesn't need to track a target for long. It needs a clear line of sight, accurate beam pointing, and atmospheric conditions that allow the beam to stay coherent over the engagement distance. That last requirement is where the program nearly failed. Maritime air is humid. Humid air scatters laser energy through thermal blooming. The beam heats the air immediately in front of the aperture, creating a thermal lens that defocuses subsequent photons. At sea level in tropical conditions, with relative humidity above 80%, first-generation HELIOS suffered measurable beam quality degradation at ranges beyond 800 meters. The Strait of Hormuz in spring averages 75 to 85% humidity. The system, as initially designed, was marginal in exactly the environment where it would be needed most. The 18-month schedule slip that delayed HELIOS from its originally planned 2022 deployment date traces directly to this problem. Lockheed engineers redesigned the aperture assembly, adding an adaptive optics correction system, a wavefront sensor feeding a deformable mirror that compensates for atmospheric distortion in real time. The fix added roughly 340 kilograms to the system mass and required a revised cooling architecture. Here's the part that surprised me most about this program. The atmospheric correction technology that saved it came directly from ground-based astronomical telescope engineering. The same wavefront sensing mathematics that lets the Keck Observatory image stars through Earth's turbulent atmosphere now keeps a Navy laser coherent over a humid strait at 2 in the morning. The redesigned system was certified for fleet installation in late 2024. USS Preble, a DDG-51 Flight 2IA Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, was selected for the first operational installation. The choice wasn't random. Preble had undergone a scheduled depot maintenance period at Pearl Harbor that created the installation window, and the crew had prior training experience with earlier directed energy experiments under the Surface Navy Laser Weapon System program. Installation completed in February 2025. Sea trials and crew qualification ran through summer. By October 2025, Preble deployed with HELIOS, certified for operational use, the first combat-capable shipboard high-energy laser in U.S. Navy history. Here's the take that will draw disagreement. The Navy waited too long. The directed energy programs that preceded HELIOS, LAWS, Odin, HELIOS development itself, stretched across nearly 15 years of funding, testing, and delay. Iran's drone swarm capability did not wait. Between 2019 and 2026, Iranian-produced drones appeared in Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and across the Red Sea and Gulf shipping lanes. The Navy was defending against a mature, asymmetric threat with a technology still in development. The 18-month delay from thermal blooming alone may have cost 2 full deployment cycles. Here's the deeper question the HELIOS program forces. If the technology existed and the threat was known, what was the actual bottleneck? We went through the acquisition documentation, and one detail kept coming back. It's not engineering, it's procurement process. HELIOS moved through standard acquisition pathways designed for platform programs measured in years, not directed energy systems where the threat evolves in months. That question matters for what comes next. We'll get to that. Preble transited to the 5th Fleet Area of Operations, Bahrain headquartered, covering the Persian Gulf, Red Sea, and Arabian Sea, in November 2025. The deployment wasn't announced as a directed energy demonstration. The ship's presence in the Hormuz theater was routine by operational pattern. What was not routine was the engagement authority pre-positioned for HELIOS use. USNI news reporting from December 2025 confirmed that 5th Fleet had established specific rules of engagement for directed energy systems that differed from conventional weapons employment. The key distinction: laser engagement doesn't require the same launch confirmation chain as a missile. The system officer can engage under established threat parameters without additional authorization delay. In a 90-second swarm engagement window, that procedural difference is not administrative, it is tactical. Between November 2025 and April 2026, the 47-day operational tally, HELIOS conducted 23 engagements. The targets were Shahed series drones, Iranian-made systems observed transiting the strait at altitudes between 100 and 200 meters. 23 engagements, 23 neutralizations, 0 conventional missiles expended. The operational data from those 47 days is the first sustained combat use of a shipboard high-energy laser by any Navy in history. What the numbers don't show is the engagement on April 14th, the one that tested full system capability against a coordinated swarm rather than individual targets. Put yourself in Lieutenant Commander Voss's position at EO-217. You have 14 contacts, not one. The system is designed to engage targets sequentially, dwelling on each long enough to cause mission kill. The engagement geometry in a swarm is not simple. Targets at different ranges, different altitudes, different aspect angles. The beam can't be in 2 places at once. Priority sequencing is everything. The HELIOS fire control software includes autonomous threat prioritization, a targeting algorithm that ranks threats by closure rate, altitude, and projected impact point. The human operator can override. Voss did not override. The system worked sequentially through the swarm at a rate of engagement the Navy has not publicly disclosed. What the Navy has confirmed through official 5th Fleet press release dated April 15, 2026, 14 threats, 14 neutralizations, engagement time under 90 seconds, 0 conventional ordnance expended. The consequence of that 90-second engagement reaches beyond a single tactical action. The conventional argument against directed energy has always rested on 3 points: weather performance, engagement rate, and system reliability. The Hormuz operational record addresses all 3. 23 engagements in varied atmospheric conditions. The strait produces humidity, dust haze, and thermal inversions, with a 100% neutralization rate. The 47-day period included conditions that the original HELIOS design couldn't reliably handle. The redesigned aperture system performed. Here's what the 47-day operational record actually means strategically. Iran's asymmetric naval doctrine has been built around the assumption that drone and missile swarms can overwhelm U.S. surface defense at acceptable cost ratios. That assumption was based on correct arithmetic, applied to a conventional weapons inventory. HELIOS changes the arithmetic completely. 23 drones at an average cost of $35,000 each represents roughly $800,000 in Iranian materiel. The HELIOS response, effectively zero. The cost ratio that made drone swarms strategically attractive no longer exists against a ship equipped with directed energy. That doesn't eliminate the drone swarm threat. It redirects it toward platforms that remain conventionally defended. Where naval defense goes from here, the first service to field unlimited magazine air defense at scale will have solved the saturation problem that has defined asymmetric naval warfare for the past decade. As of July 2026, the U.S. Navy has one ship with that capability. The program calls for additional installations, though the Navy has not published a fleet-wide schedule. The question isn't whether directed energy changes naval warfare. April 14, 2026 settled that. The question is speed of fielding against a threat that can replicate drone swarm capacity in months, not years. Will we see directed energy standard equipped across the Arleigh-Burke fleet by 2030? Comment yes or no. The acquisition timeline makes this a real debate. Back to 0217, Strait of Hormuz. Lieutenant Commander Voss watched the last contact disappear from her screen at 0219:11. 88 seconds total. The HELIOS system had fired 14 times. No CRAM rounds expended, no phalanx ammunition, no damage to Preble. She filed the after-action report at Oro 300. The Navy reviewed it for 3 weeks before confirming public release. One ship, unlimited magazine depth. That's where things stand. Subscribe. Next week, we break down the Navy's directed energy roadmap through 2030 and which platforms are next in line for installation.